Welcome to Disruptive Successor, a show for next generation leaders in family businesses and entrepreneurs who want to disrupt the status quo and take their existing business to a whole new level. We all know that what got us here isn't going to get us there. This show will provide inspiration, advice, and resources to help you create massive impact. This podcast is sponsored by myself, Jonathan Goldhill, and my company, the Goldhill Group, where we provide coaching for growing companies. I'm Jonathan Goldhill, and my purpose is simple: to guide entrepreneurial leaders in family businesses towards more freedom and fulfillment. I want entrepreneurs to get clarity around the changes that will make them and their businesses more successful so they can experience the same freedom I've enjoyed in my life. Our proven practices challenge business owners to think differently about their business and how they're running it, and quite literally become game changers in our clients' companies. Learn more at thegoldhillgroup.com website, where you can schedule your free strategy session. Hi, it's Jonathan Goldhill, and welcome back to another episode of the Disruptive Successor Show. Today, my guest is Guillermo Salazar. He is a distinguished advisor with decades of experience in guiding family enterprises. As an expert in family business governance, succession planning, and effective communication, he is renowned for his global speaking engagements and authored works on managing family company dynamics. With a keen focus on nurturing the future generations of family businesses and fostering improved communication and harmony, Guillermo is a sought-after thought leader in the realm of family enterprise dynamics. Guillermo, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Jonathan, very much. I'm very glad to be here.
All right, well, glad to have you. So, based in Houston, originally from Venezuela, love the diversity. I'm gathering you probably work with a lot of Latinx companies and maybe cross-cultural, cross-country as well. So it probably lends a lot of experience. But let's start, as I usually do, with getting some of your background. How did Guillermo Salazar come to do what you are doing today? Like, what brought you here?
Oh, well, that's because I come from a family business. So, of course,
right.
I was very, very worried of my family because I started wondering if we could manage the business without fighting every day and dealing with all the issues that eventually I understood that are very common in businesses ruled by family. So as I came from a family business, I'm an architect. I graduated from architect, and my father is an engineer. My brother is an engineer. My cousins, everybody in my family is related with construction.
Wow. So
when I was born, I was meant to be in the business with or without my will. So
that was expected. It was known that you went into the family business. It was not like, was it a choice? Like, I want to do something else, or like, this is an expectation?
Well, that's a very good point, because in that time, I'm 53 right now. In that time, that was kind of a, choice that you have, but you better get the choice that we want you to get. But in the previous generation, there was no choice. I mean, in my father's generation, if you were in a family business, you were born to work in the family business, with or without your will. But now I see that these generations that are starting to be part of the business, they really have this choice. It's the sense and the values, freedom is so different right now. And man, you have to beg them to come to the family business. I mean, if you're the leading generation and you want the next generation to be part of the family business, you really have to be very attractive to them, because you are only one of the options that they have.
Right, exactly. I mean, everyone wants to go work for tech. They want to become a billionaire. So let's get back to your family business. How many family members worked in the business approximately? Maybe how big was the business? What kind of work were you doing?
Well, we were about eight, 9, 10, depending on the moment of our history. I was leading supervision of construction,
Mm-hmm.
a private division that we had. But eventually that business failed. In that time, I started to study a master's degree, and then that in that moment was when I discovered this family business topic, and I was fascinated of the information I got, and I started to study seriously the family.
Let's talk about the failure, if you don't mind, because I think some of our greatest learning lessons are from our failures. When you said 8, 9 family members, was that all the employees as well, or were there more?
No, besides that, we have some employees too. I would say that by a regular number could be 30, 40 employees, depending on the project.
So a typical size of a client that I might start working with, maybe you as well. And so what were some of the dynamics going on in the family? And are these the explanation for why the business failed?
Some of them, yes. There was this overlap of misunderstanding of what was your role, what should be your role, who is in charge of. I mean, it was very informal.
Right.
Although we were dealing with huge budgets, and still the informality of who's in charge, who is the boss. Those were, I would say, most of the issues we were facing on the titling of the persons related. I mean, there was a kind of confusion, and that was normal for me. I mean, living in that kind of dynamic. But then when I start studying an MBA, and I start to see that there are formalities in the companies that you better follow if you want to get order and if you want to get revenues.
Right.
So I started to think maybe there's a solution for us, and we failed. I would say that was one of the reasons, but there was another external reason that is very, very uncommon in family businesses, because most of the cases that we see of family business that fail are because there is an internal reason for that fail. In our case, it was most important the political situation of our country in Venezuela. We were very, very related with the public construction, avenues, streets, bridges, and those are contracts that you have with the government by the end of the day. And there was a huge problem with that. And when it got really difficult for the private company to start dealing with the government without doing some special business with them. So that was when most of the families that had, like us, strong value of honest working, we start to lose work. And that was the main reason.
Did you see it coming? Did your family see it coming?
We didn't see it coming because nobody believed that something like that could happen. I mean, there were decades of working with any government, with any family, with any project, and suddenly, if you were not with them, you were not part of the business. Right. And it's very hard to accept that the things were changing, and we have to reconfigure our own family based on that. That was very hard to understand at the beginning, but that was the main reason.
Now, did your dad, did he rule with a heavy fist? Was it was it very paternal? What I think, real patrimony kind of in terms of the way the structure of the business.
That's very interesting. I would say he was in that time very flexible, but there was a limit for that flexibility. I mean, he wasn't a laissez-faire person. But he believed in us. I mean, he believed that we can bring things new things to the business. We can do things. We were very, very flexible in that. But if you trespass some special limits, there was a very hard phase in that.
And did during the time of your family business, did one of the next generation leaders become the CEO or the head person? Was there a disruptive person who was positive, negative? Just to understand a little bit about.
Well, we were just in the middle of the transition when all of the big problems came to the company, and my father and my uncle, they thought that maybe I was the person to lead the company in the next generation, and that I could take care of everything. And they start thinking of me, but there was no official designation. They will say, maybe you will be the one. Let's start to think about the succession process, and then everything collapsed. I was just maybe a couple of years behind the moment of being the next CEO. Very interesting. I haven't think about it.
Right.
Mention that.
Right, because we tend to move on, but so some of what was missing in your business, which is not different from any business, but is more particular to family businesses, because for a family business to last multiple generations, it has to change with the times, right? Like you still wouldn't be doing paper bookkeeping, right? You would be electronic bookkeeping today. If you didn't make that adjustment, if a family wasn't able to make that adjustment, they wouldn't survive. And also similarly, let's say you were a print shop, or you were a manufacturing business, and all that stuff got moved over to another country. Like you'd have to make adjustments to what people need. And I think that's something that's very difficult for businesses. And the thing that's difficult is for them to be looking externally and understanding what's going on in the landscape. What is the political, economic, social, technological, international, regulatory, what legislations are coming down that might disrupt our business. And so too many small businesses don't spend enough time looking outside of their business and looking at the industry at large and understanding the risks.
Yes.
And you contrast that with like a mortgage company that needs to constantly pay attention to what's going on economically, because they're going to be making a lot of loans when the rates are low, and they're not going to be doing a lot of mortgage lending when the rates are high. So some businesses are more keen to looking outside and what's going on. So, all right. So interesting dynamics. And was there an entrepreneur amongst your next generation?
Absolutely. I would say all of us.
You were all. Okay.
Yeah, we have. And that's the most important part of this history. We learn to be entrepreneurs because of my father and my uncle. They really teach us how to do things. In case of everything around you collapse, you will always be the only one responsible on the stability and happiness in this life. That was the main value that they teach us. So because of them, and not because of the business, because of them, we could survive in our next life. And that's the most important part of a family business. The core values that you get inside the family dynamics are the really tools that you're going to receive when you are adult enough for your life. And that's something that we need to work in every family business in the whole world.
Right.
Those are the most important things, the values 100%. That you will receive.
100%. And you and I are on the same page. So just so I can get some perspective, and also listeners get some perspective, and maybe you have some data around businesses in Venezuela, the percentage that are family businesses, or businesses in South America, or in the Latin culture versus businesses in the United States?
Mhm.
Are there, like in India, it's reported that 95% of all businesses are family businesses because that's the economic unit. And I mean, I'm wondering even if there's maybe fewer family businesses in terms of the United States because of the advent of technology and people able to move and live, in multiple places. And so maybe the number of businesses are fewer that are family businesses. But in Latin America and South America, is it mostly family businesses? Is it more predominantly family businesses, do you think?
Yes, it is. It is. In fact, we've been leading some research and trying to contrast the different research around the world. And yes, we are mostly a family business economy in most of our countries. And I would say around 80% of the businesses, of the private health businesses in Latin America are family businesses. So, but it also depends on the concept that you have of the family business.
Right.
Here in the US, you can say that a sole proprietor of a family, of a business could be a family business.
Right. As long as there's another, like a spouse or someone, no, not just a single person.
Yeah, but there is a huge difference between family business in Latin America and the US businesses that you can consider family business. And again, this is related with the external influence of the market. The market in the Latin American countries is, in comparison with the US, it's smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you are a founder of a business in Latin America and you are planning to consider the next generation to join the business, to run the business and keep on going, the cash flow of the family. And you have the same scenario here in the US. In the US, you will have the option. Okay, if they don't agree on my terms, I can sell the business.
Mm-hmm.
And, I can found a family office or whatever thing. I have more solutions because I will have cash for my business. We don't have that choice in Latin America because our market, we have a stock market, but in comparison with the markets that you have here, you won't have a fair price for your business.
Right.
And we don't have those events of merger and acquisition that you can see here.
Right.
So the best option to keep on going the cash flow in the family is that the next generation runs the business because you will have value for your business.
Right.
So that's why we are more close to the family business because that's the best option that we have. And that's why we have to deal with improve our communication, understand better our dynamics, and because the best option is to keep on going together. And we don't have the option to sell the business.
Got it. All right. So now let's fast forward back to where you were. So you started to study and learn about family dynamics and the complexity in family businesses. Tell us a little bit about what were some of the things that you learned back then that you wish you.
Well, I started when I start to think about seriously on being an advisor. I understood that one of the branches of the disciplines that you can study, I prefer to go through the behavioral science disciplines.
Mm-hmm.
So I start to study family therapy.
Right.
Because I thought that those concepts could help me to better, add value to my service.
Mm-hmm.
And I start to study in Barcelona, in Spain, family therapy. And there's a career of 4 years to get the title. I did only 3 years because I wasn't interested in being a therapist. I don't even have any degree on psychological things like that. But I understood the dynamic of the families. I understood that there are certain tools that you can use as an advisor to help them to improve the dynamic. And I understood the role of the emotions in the communications of the family. So those things are perfectly fit in the value that you add in your service as an advisor, because you can understand the way the family behaves, what the family needs and what the family want, and help them to find a way to go through that path to find a solution. So that's the things that you learn when you study family therapy without being a therapist.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you probably share the same feeling that when I'm dealing with family dynamics and issues, I very much feel like a family therapist. And sometimes when I'm just dealing with an individual, I'm just dealing with their own individual, their dynamics. So,
yeah.
All right. So you got really deep into succession planning work and family governance, and so let's talk about the methodology to deal with some of the issues in family businesses, like the succession process and the role of the next generation in developing their leadership. Like, where do you start in your process with your clients typically?
Typically, I start with something that we call the chemistry meeting. We have to know if we like each other. I always tells the prospect client that you will always have choices of other advisors. Try to get with the advisor that makes you feel good, not only the advisor that you think that is going to do something good for your business. Try to do something with someone you can connect with. And you will need about an hour of a first interview with someone to know if that person is the right person. So try to have at least 1 hour of an interview with everyone. So once we have that meeting, I always finish that meeting with one question. Why do you want to keep on going together this business? Because the best option for an individual is to go by yourself. Why do you want to add complication to your life with going to the business? And you have to be honest with that answer. And 95% of the persons that I deal with, yes, we want to go together with the family business because we want to, and we are not considering other options. So, okay, if you want to keep on going together, I can help you to deal with the usual obstacles you will find in your way. So once we have that answer question, we start with the very first thing we need to improve in a family, which is communication. There's always room to improve communication, and that's the base of everything that we're going to have to do together. So I help them to understand what's their own preference of communication. Every individual has a preference of communication depending on your personality. I help them to discover what's their own personality that fits with the best way of communication, to understand the other's way of communication, and then deal with the way that you can improve that.
Now, do you use something like Myers-Briggs or DISC or?
Yeah, something like Myers-Briggs. Yes, that always helps a lot.
So you put them through an assessment, a behavioral assessment, let them see and understand how they show up versus other people show up, and
exactly then, what are your preferences? How do you perceive the environment? Those things are very important. If when you are dealing with human beings, a group of human beings that try to find a goal together, you need to improve that essential tool, which is communication. Okay. So we always start with that. And once we have that, we have to define the real purpose of the family business. As an individual, you need to justify why you are doing this. Not only answering that question, but really, why do you want to do that? What's the meaning of all of this? And the only way to do that is understanding what's your role in the narrative of the family business, because every system has a narrative. And the way to discover that is going through the history of the family business all together we are going to recreate the history that is related with this family, this patrimony, and the legacy we want to build. And we are going to go through all the main milestones of the history, understand who are the main characters of the plot, who is the hero, who is the anti-hero, where are the real challenges that the family has been facing all this time. And then we will discover the real values that we have been building through all this time. Because for every obstacle, there is a decision to make. And in every decision, there is a value that guides us. And those are the pieces that have created our narrative. And that narrative gives you an identity as a member of this family business. When you rediscover that, and you're conscious that you belong to that narrative, and that there is a timeline that started in the past and lead you to the present, we are ready to start working on the next time to explore, which is the future, starting from the present to the future. And we start to build a shared dream, which is the point where all the dreams converge in one common goal. But it's based on the continuity of that history, on that value. That makes sense when you want to go somewhere, you need to know where do you come from. So what we do is that we recreate the timeline from the past to the future based on the values of the family. And it's very powerful because when you have that, you can define why you are doing this, because it's come from your heart and doing this because I belong.
Do you find that you meet with resistance as you're going through this process with clients?
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes there are some traumas. Sometimes there is lack of imagination in some cases.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And I would think sometimes people just want you to hurry up and fix the problem. And like, why do we have to go back and go through all this? Or I don't really want to talk about this history. Let's just talk about the future. I mean, there's this tension going on between family members who have different communication styles and different desire to go in a different direction.
Yes, but most of the cases that I work with, they go through this part and they are very glad to do that.
Okay.
But yes, I have facing cases that it is very hard to imagine a future. Right. And when you go to that point that, okay, what's the future that you can project together? Mm-hmm. We don't say it. Okay, so the solution is another one. Maybe we have to go back and think that maybe there is a future in a way that you are not together, and you can start to think in a split or in somehow something that gives you some more confidence of you want to do. And that's a starter for another process. But yes, that can happen. And it's very powerful. When you do that, you have people that really connect emotionally with what they want to do, with your own sense and reason to be there.
So is there a next step after that you take them through that you find is a logical?
There is a next step after that. Once we have all of that, okay, we have defined where we want to be in the future. So in order to reach to that point, we need a path to go. And that path needs rules, because we need to know if we are going through the path or we are going out of the path. So the rules are going to help us to go to that place. And we start to do the rules basically with two main issues: governance. How are we going to deal with all of this to get there? And succession. Maybe in the future, the leading generation today won't be in that point. Maybe it's the next generation who will lead. So we need to deal with the governance issues. Yep. That means governance bodies. For example, a board of directors. If you don't have one, we have to create one. Maybe a family council will help us to deal with the family issues. or maybe some committees that you need to work with, maybe a family office, something that gives you structure depending on the complexity that you have. We don't recommend doing a complex structure if you are not complex. We don't recommend doing something small if you are complex. There must be a match on that point.
Right. So it has to match with their personality.
With their personality, with their needs, with the complexity. And the complexity is because of the elements and the interaction of the elements that they have. So what we try to do is to lower the risk of the fail of the structure. Mm-hmm. And that's a design thing. Mm-hmm. And that those are part of the rules. Right. So once you have that and you have the successions necessities of the family that you have identified, you will deal with that with writing the rules, and then you can have a family constitution or protocol or a statute, whatever name you want to give them.
Right.
And there are the instructions to reach that shared dreams.
How do we measure, or you're a family firm practitioner, and how do you measure success? What does success look like? Is there a way you measure success?
No, I don't think I haven't found a way to measure success. What I can measure for sure is the level of satisfaction.
Right.
Which is very close to success depending on how you see it. Mm-hmm. But success is so relative, so commercial. I don't think that you can find, tell me what's a family business, a successful family business, and why? Because of the social media says that. Yeah. What about what's happening inside the business? What's happening inside the family? It's very hard to find a success, but I can tell you if family members are satisfied with the work that they are doing, or if they are willing to improve what they are doing. So I prefer the term level of satisfaction.
Yeah, I think that's good. Guillermo, thanks for sharing your thoughts on the show today. The name of your company is Exaudi Online. Is that right?
Exaudi.
Exaudi. Does it have a meaning?
Yes, it's a word in Latin that means listen. And it's an order. I tell you, listen, Exaudi. Because when I was studying therapy, I discovered that the key of family dynamics is when all of the members start to listen to each other. Mm-hmm. Once you have that, once this is part of the dynamic, everything starts to move forward.
100%. Well, I've been doing some shows with people about that topic, about how to listen. An author of the book, How to Listen, which had a great impact on me about the ego, family dynamics. So, hey, it's great having you on the show today. If people want to reach you, your email will be in the show notes, but it's guillermo.salazar@exaudionline.com. And any final thoughts you want to share before we close this out?
Well, if someone wants to go deeper in that methodology I've been mentioned, you can read my book. It's available in Amazon. It's in English. Mm-hmm. I also have the Spanish version if you want it.
And the book title is?
The book title is A Road to Triumph in Family Business.
A Road to Triumph in Family Business. Fantastic. Guillermo, thanks for being on the show. Folks, this is another show about family business dynamics, succession planning. I'm sure that if you pick up a copy of his book, you'll learn a lot more about these topics and more, governance, etc. And stay tuned for future episodes of the Disruptive Successor Show. This podcast is sponsored by myself, Jonathan Goldhill, and my company, the Goldhill Group, where we provide coaching for growing companies. I'm Jonathan Goldhill, and my purpose is simple: to guide entrepreneurial leaders in family businesses towards more freedom and fulfillment. I want entrepreneurs to get clarity around the changes that will make them and their businesses more successful so they can experience the same freedom I've enjoyed in my life. Our proven practices challenge business owners to think differently about their business and how they're running it, and quite literally become game changers in our clients' companies. Learn more at thegoldhillgroup.com website, where you can schedule your free strategy session. Thank you for joining us on the Disruptive Successor podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, review, and share with a friend who would benefit from the message. If you're interested in picking up a copy of my book, Disruptive Successor, go to disruptivesuccessor.com.